let's talk about imposter syndrome first. My husband and I were talking about this one day, about imposter syndrome and who gets imposter syndrome. And the truth is, let me stop. If you don't know what imposter syndrome is that feeling that you get when you go to do something new that you are completely qualified to do, but you start feeling like you're not qualified. Everybody that started at a new job feels this way. Every new nurse, for me, when I started into nursing, I kept waiting for them to be like, she doesn't know what she's doing. When I was a nurse practitioner, I kept waiting for them to come and say to me, literally probably the first 6 months, I kept waiting for somebody to come and be like, you're not allowed to do this. What are you doing? But the truth is, the more qualified you are, usually the more you feel like an imposter because you're more aware of wanting to be perfect. Yeah. Wraps back around, doesn't it? This is what I think about imposter syndrome, really at the root of it. We have our true identity, that is the one that God spoke to us, that He created us to be our true identity. And then we have our real identity, and that's the one that we have created. And most of the time, there's this huge disconnect between our true identity and our real identity. And I think that gap between these two things is what makes us feel imposter syndrome. I think the smaller that gap is, the less we feel imposter syndrome. So here's the exciting thing. What if, just going to throw this out there, what if we start with the premise, what if we decide to believe, like I've talked about so many times, throw away your unbelief, get rid of it. What if we decide to start with the premise that our true identity, our ideal identity that God created us to be, is who we really are, and that the real identity over here is an imposter because it was created with fear and abandonment issues and, having to prove themselves and pain and rejection. But this is the real one. What if we stay closer to this? Then there's no room for imposter syndrome because we know Jesus didn't create imposters. You are not an imposter. If I can get you to believe this, you are beyond equipped to do what you feel in your heart to do. If you knew how Jesus looks at you and how his whole world just explodes in his heart with love for you and how well pleased he is with you, you would go forward. Believe that. I know that is true. It's very clear in the Bible that's how Jesus thinks of us. Decide today that true identity that Jesus spoke over you. That identity is the real one. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can go back into my very first live that I did in this series, and I will link it to this video when we're done, that talks about how to find your true identity and listening prayers and those kind of things. So that's the imposter syndrome. Huge reason that we self-sabotage.